This has been one hell of a long time coming. Obviously, if you haven't seen it yet, before you watch this video, you should go watch Digi's top 100 best anime OPs, because that's what I'm going to be talking about here. I've been meaning to do something like this for pretty much the entire history of my channel, but I was really undecided about what format I wanted it to take. On the one hand, I really love OP compilation videos that just play one song into the next for however many there are, because they're just a whole lot of fun to listen to and watch. I get to see a bunch of OPs, and what better one could exist than one that's all my favorites? I've literally watched it over and over again since creating it. But I also am known mostly as a guy who talks about the things I like, not so much just showcasing them. And for a lot of my channel's history, I just thought it would seem inappropriate to just make a compilation video with no explanation, but I also thought it would be really boring to just talk about all the OPs and not make one of those videos. So now that the channel is finally weird enough to really go with this format, I'm just gonna do both. Of course, I couldn't really do this as a written video because of the fact that I have such diverse feelings about all these OPs. There are some that I have a lot to say about, some that I don't have that much to say about. Some where the focus is more on the music, some more on the video, some more on just my personal history with them. The list is organized entirely just by how I feel in general. It was not any particular parameter other than just the raw emotional reaction I have to the OP's existence, and some of them that has, again, more to do with the song, or more to do with the video, or more to do with the story. Usually I'm more inclined to care about the song itself, because a lot of these are songs that I have continually listened to, not just as the intro to an anime. So basically, I'm just going to, in a completely unstructured way, rant about each one, whatever I have to say. I'm going to do 20 of them per video for the next 8 days. And the reason that it's going to take 8 days is that I'm also going to do a top 60 EDs list. So the EDs list will come out after I've exhausted all the OPs. You'll get the top 60 EDs in the first episode of me talking about them at the same time after the OPs, just to make it a big ol' event. So for the next 8 days, here's me talking about OPs and EDs, and you can just rewatch the other video over and over again each time. In order to do this, I'm going to literally just watch each OP first, then talk about it. Obviously, I will edit out the part where I watch it, but I'm going to go ahead and watch my number 100 right now. So first up on our list is the first Natsu no Arashi OP. This comes from Studio Shaft, who, in my opinion, have consistently made the best OP songs and videos. You are going to see a lot of Shaft on my list, and this one is special for being one in the category of OPs that introduced me to a band that I love in general. In this case, not even directly, but because of an anime blogger named Wild Arms Hero, who became a huge fan of this song when it came out and sought out the band, which at the time was called Omokage Lucky Hole. They later have changed their name to Only Love Hurts. Either way, OLH is the abbreviation. And they're this really interesting, like, funk, jazz, even like rap and R&B fusion group that is led by this guy with the sleaziest sounding cool voice in the world, and their lyrics are all hilarious. They're all these very darkly comedic songs. They have tracks like The Summer When I Left My Newborn Daughter in the Car and She Died While I Was Playing Pachinko, or which is the full name of the song, or I'm sorry I didn't have sex last night, please don't beat me. They're, again, darkly. Some of them are not even really funny. They're just kind of pathetic and really just heart-wrenching in a way, but all presented in a very tongue-in-cheek manner. I generally am a fan of their music. I wouldn't say that I completely adore any of their albums all the way through, but they have lots of great tracks. This is not necessarily one of my favorite Omokage Lucky Hole songs, but I do think it's really great with the strong lead melody that kicks off the track with the horns. It's got a great chorus, and the video is really excellent as well, because Natsu no Arashi is a time travel comedy that is centered around the I can't really remember this entirely because I've only seen the first few episodes, even though it's a good show and I would watch the rest, and it was some time ago. But I believe it takes place in either the early 90s or like late 80s or something like that. But this is represented well by the OP with the aspect ratio changes. It keeps having 16:9 images that get cut down to 4:3, of course resembling, the way that old tube TVs were oriented. So it's pretty cool seeing all those changes, and of course that's very Shaft-esque anyways, since playing with things like aspect ratio is very much a thing the studio does. Much more than that, you get other Shaft-isms such as the sexy girl upwards shots where it starts from down at their legs and goes all the way up as the camera pans out. You see a lot of that in the Monogatari series, and there's a whole bunch of them in this OP that all look fantastic and time very well with the chorus of the song. There's also a weird section in the middle where they do one of those like classic Japanese picture board stories. Don't really know why that's in there. Could be something relevant to the show that I haven't seen enough of it yet to know about. But there's just lots of little fun moments, little punchlines, little like jokes throughout the song, images that are fun. There's like a part where the background vocals kind of go like, "Hoo!" and this huge muscle guy like strikes a pose right at that moment. It's great. Just a lot of fun. A very old school feeling OP. I love that the music, they chose a band whose sound is very old fashioned. The song sounds like it came from the 90s, even though Omokage Lucky Hole is was a modern band at the time. I think this came out in like 2009 or something. But everything about it is a throwback, and I think that's really fucking cool. Number 99 on my list is Howling, the Darker Than Black OP by Abingdon Boys School. And if I'm being completely honest, this should not have made the list. I was cutting something else from it, and I decided to put Howling in, but I really wanted to have the Natsuno Arashi OP open the list because it was going to be at the back end, and I figured it could be 99 or 100, but it sounds better as the intro. It wasn't until later on that, after I had already rendered this video and deleted all the project files, that I managed to find 3 OPs that I had forgotten. So if you watched the video and you saw that there were 3 times where a number repeats and it says late add, that's because I could not change anything else about the video. I couldn't change the numbers on anything else. I could only add new stuff into it. So, and I wasn't going to rebuild the entire video from scratch. So anyway, Howling though, I still like this OP quite a bit. I just won't have as much effuse praise for it as I might have for a lot of the other stuff on this list. But this one is very much a nostalgia thing. Darker Than Black was one of the first shows that I watched subtitled back in 2007 when I was first getting into subbed anime, paying a bit more attention to things like OPs, I mean, there are definitely some stuff on this list that you're going to see from back in the Toonami and Cartoon Network days, back, in my early days of anime, but those usually truncated the OP and ED. It wasn't as easy to find them online. This was one of the first opening songs where I could, go find the full length afterwards, and the most famous thing about this OP is, of course, the opening bit where you hear a woman's voice says, "Now I've lost it. I know I can kill. The truth exists beyond the gate." Which is awesome as it is, but in the full-length version, it's much longer, where she says, "The night sky full of cries, our hearts filled with lies. The contract, is it worth the price? A soul pledged to the darkness. Now I've lost it. I know I can kill. The truth exists beyond the gate." And then you get that excellent riff. Very memorable riff. I'm not as into the verses of this song. TM Revolution, who sings this, he's the lead singer of Abingdon Boys School. He was famous in the 90s, and this is like his newer band that I think was basically made to make anime OPs. They've done a fuckload of them. You probably best know him as the guy who did the first Soul Eater OP, which I cannot stand because I don't like the way he sings. I don't like his weird you know, the like that weird singing style. But when you get to the chorus, I think it's pretty great and memorable. And then the way it transitions into the sort of post-chorus is really good, with the drums are really kick-ass at that part. And of course the memorable final line of the chorus, just howling in the shadows. It's a just kick-ass rock song, you know. The video is nothing really to speak about. It looks pretty cool. It's just a bunch of darker than black imagery. If you haven't seen the show, it's got a nice aesthetic. You know, the actual show is dripping with style and a Yoko Kanno OST, so even more so than the OP, it looks pretty choice. But yeah, it's all right. Number 98 is Blue Comet SPT Lasner, a classic 80s OP. I'm not even gonna front. I have not watched more than one episode of this show. The reason I know about this OP is just that it's famous. It's one of those 80s OPs that the old mecha dudes are mega into, and I've given it a listen many times over the years and completely fallen in love with it. First of all, the way it opens with the gunshot snares immediately gets you right into the action. You've got this pulse-pounding beat, backbeat, you know, 80s style backbeat in the background, but then the unexpected harmonized vocals that make up the verses are really dramatic and have this pensive energy that makes you feel like it's kind of mysterious and cool over, of course, all these shots of space and awesome looking 80s characters and robots. It's got that very well built 80s space show feel, like watching Zeta Gundam or something, whose OP of course will be in this list, that I'll have much of the same things to say about. But this one has, first of all, the awesome sound effects that play throughout the OP, which is always a fun touch. And 20 plus years before Do Da Da Da, it was doing putting the recap into the OP with the music, you know, continuing to play in the background. Works just as well as it does in that show. It's pretty fucking lit. And then, of course, you get to the chorus with the famous Lonely Way, Lonely Way, Lonely Way. It's just one of those English phrases that immediately captivates you. Sometimes the English makes you go, no, this ain't it, chief. And other times it makes you go, this is exactly it. This is a kind of poeticism no native English speaker would ever come up with, but is perfect. Lonely Way. That's one of those cases. Number 97 on my list is 19 Psy, the OP of XXX Holic. And this is pretty purely a case of just I love the song. Holic, I watched like half the first season. It's pretty okay. Not really that memorable of a show. The OP visually, it has some cool like smoky animations going through it and some interesting color choices, but I wouldn't say it's a video I really strongly remember. It's mostly the song, which is this very groovy sort of, the beat is like simultaneously very hard and clicky, but it's very well produced, although you can never find a fucking high quality version of it on YouTube. But it's sample driven with all these like acoustic guitar parts, orchestral instrumentation worked in. It's like sparse but heavy enough to catch your attention with this bouncing sort of synth bass line that's going like boo ba ding bing boo be doom, boom ba ding bing bing be doom. But really what catches your ear is just the great singing of the guy whose name is slipping my mind, but he sounds fantastic. He sounds really sly and cool while also being like a young, hip. You could tell this guy is handsome through his voice. I don't even know if he is handsome. I've just always assumed it from listening to the guy's fucking voice. It's so smooth. And the lyrics I love, which are just about hating yourself, the 19-year-old. Like hating being the age 19 and yourself as a 19-year-old. The pre-chorus. It's just fucking smooth, man. Smooth. I wanted to do this at karaoke when I was 19, but I never got around to it. Oh God, I'm almost 28. Next one. Hell yeah, at number 96 we got Fire Wars, the OP of Maz and Kaiser by Jam Project. Jam Project, of course, Japanese anime music project, is a 5-piece vocal outlet dedicated to the express purpose of creating anime music, although they're probably better known for doing the Super Robot Wars openings over the decades, and just providing all kinds of really, like, over-the-top, dramatic, hyper-masculine, badass fucking songs. You know, they're led by Hironobu Kageyama, I think is his name, the guy who did the Dragon Ball OPs that are best known, such as Shala, Head Shala. One of the guys is the guy who did the One Piece OP. One of the women in the group, at least early on, I'm not sure if she's in this song because it's not really any noticeable female vocals, is Rika Matsumoto, the voice actress who plays Ash Ketchum and does all the, I guess I should say Satoshi, all the Pokemon OPs in Japanese. So, you know, I'm definitely going to have more than one Jam Project on the list. I just thought I'd give them the proper introduction. But Fire Wars is one of their slickest sounding tracks. This is one of their most cool, badass. It's not as over the top and dramatic as a lot of their other ones. It's more about having some really killer guitar riffs all throughout it and just being like a cool, like, like that kind of sound, you know. That was like, I don't know the lyrics, so I'm just trying to make shit up. There are a bunch of great English lyrics in this song, though, like the part where he just says, like, get show no violence. Ugh, yeah, I want some violence. Fuck yeah. Fire Wars. The video is really fucking cool. It's all done in, like, orange, yellow, and reds, you know, fire colors. It's just a bunch of, like, shots of the characters and robots of Maz and Kaiser, which, of course, is a classic Go Nagai property. Just, like, shot in little sort of squares or rectangles. Like, it'll show, like, 3 images in a row opening next to each other. I mean, just watch it. I don't know how to fucking explain this well. It looks cool, and it sounds slick as fuck. And then, of course, you get to the amazing chorus. In the fire, breaking down. Oh, nani mo nai, eien no war game. Eternal war game. In the fire, crash on crash. Ugh, it's so fucking pumped. Don't wanna know everybody ready, get it on, yeah! Fuck, I wanna punch something now. At number 95, I've got the Mob Psycho Season 2 OP 99.9. Now, both Mob Psycho OPs are pretty great, though personally I've never been the biggest fan of the sort of chanted group vocals that go on throughout both tracks that just sound weirdly like, I don't know, robotic or lifeless. I don't know if that's what they're going for. It doesn't hit my ears right, and I'm also not the biggest fan of, like, the overall production sound of the tracks, but they're both really interesting songs with great choruses and, of course, fantastic, crazy-ass videos. The Mob Psycho 2 OP video is just like this overkill saturation of as much, like, visual information as you could cram into an OP, segmented into just what kind of amount to a bunch of ultra short films, like just a bunch of short, fun little comedy segments starring the characters of Mob Psycho, all with lavish animation. And the first part of the song and video is fun, but really it's when you get to the chorus that things kick into high gear with this soaring, magnificent chorus with great lyrics that are instantly stuck in your head, and this fucking awesome fight scene with a really weird color aesthetic going on. I just can't get enough of the part where she screams, "The mob is right, the mob is right, is that your thing, is that your line?" That part kicks ass, and I think about it all the time. And of course I love the "your life is your own" at the end. Apologies for this obnoxious falsetto I'm insisting on singing everything in. At number 94, I have the Ergo Proxy OP, and you might know I'm not the biggest fan of this show, but The OP and ED are extremely memorable. The ED, of course, being just Paranoid Android by Radiohead. But the OP is this just soaring, magnificent rock song. Honestly, it's a type of song that I would not ordinarily listen to. It's a little bit too, like, bright and glistening, and, like, it almost sounds like a Christian rock song. Like, I would totally believe you if you told me it was. But the more I've listened to it, the more it's just kind of sank into my consciousness. It's really fun to sing along to all the way through. Just the, you complete my faith, the halo burns away. The visuals are pretty cool, with all these, like, layered things going on. I think in the mid-2000s, basically just, like, anime staffers were, like, just excited that they could layer a bunch of stuff on top of each other and had, like, the processing power to make that work, because you're going to see more of that. Like, the Gankutsuwa OP is done very similarly, and I think that show came out the same year. So, like, you know, it was just, like, kind of the in thing to do, but it looks pretty cool in this video with all the, like, Latin text and fucking film grain effects and scenes from the show and stuff like that. Cool pieces of animation. It's mysterious and spooky, and I really just like the way that the, you know, exaltation of the song is juxtaposed against the darkness of the visuals, just like how black most of the screen is, and it gives it, again, a very mysterious feeling. It kind of brings a different side out of the song than what you might first expect. But, of course, the real reason that anyone knows this song, come and save me, over and over again for the whole chorus. Just is a good line that sounds good when the guy sings it. It's one of those songs that just had to exist. There was no way that all of time would go on and nobody would create that chorus. This next one is a lovable clusterfuck, the Needless OP. I'm still not sure what the hell Needless is. Like, I've seen the first episode. It's very much like a badass manly action show, but it's also like all the dudes are these giant ripped monstrosities who are, like, way larger than life characters. All the girls are super fucking hot action combat heroines, but then there's also, like, a bunch of, like, moe lollies, and the ED, we'll get into the ED. Well, actually, we won't get into the ED on my other list because I didn't include it, but the ED is just three cute girls, like, doing Yuri stuff for a minute and a half, to some, like, bubblegum pop, whereas the OP is this, like, charging, insane rock song by Grand Rodeo, who's done a bunch of anime OPs. This is by far my favorite that they've done, probably just because it's the heaviest and the most interesting structurally, but much like the way that watching this OP makes you think, wow, this appears to be a show about everything, listening to the OP also feels like it's just all over the place, because it switches between different passages very abruptly. It's like a bunch of songs sandwiched in one, which is something I love in general. I like music that does that has lots of transitions, and some of those transitions are really awesome, particularly between the, like, do you have any function part, and then you hear these, like, insane, like, Mastodon-esque drum fills just pummeling through the pre-chorus as it builds up, and then you think you're about to hit the chorus, but then it goes into this, like, metal riff, and it's like, I'm on strange cowboy, what a strange cowboy. Then the build starts again. You hit the chorus. It's very lively, very fun song. I would say that section is my favorite part. By the way, I realized I forgot to note this, but, like, the video, the OP's video, I constructed it out of particularly my favorite parts of each song. A lot of the time that means the chorus, or rather what I consider the best part. In this song, it was the transition part that I picked because I love it. And I also just love the lyric, do you have any function? The lead singer of Grand Rodeo, by the way, is the guy who voiced King Kitan in Gurren Lagann. And I always think about that. Like, because when Needless came out, everybody just compared it to Gurren Lagann because it used, like, that scratchy line work effect. It was, again, a badass, over-the-top, manly action show. I believe there were even drills involved. It definitely seemed like it was trying to capitalize on the success of Gurren Lagann, but, you know, the fact that King Catan is singing the OP just gives it that much more. I would probably love this OP even more if it wasn't such an overproduced clusterfuck. Like, it's not even the song structure that bothers me, it's just the fact that it's way too glistening. There's all these, like, shh effects added in just to, like, emphasize transitions. I hate that shit. The vocals are way too loud in the mix. So it's just a little grating, a little obnoxious. The video as well, like, it's a bunch of just insane over-the-top imagery that is cool, but, like, too much of it at once just makes you go like, what the fuck am I looking at? So yeah, I still have an affection for it, an appreciation. You know, like many of these songs, it has been on my iPod, so I'm not gonna trash it or anything. Number 92 is Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex, the first one, Inner Universe, by Auriga. Rest in peace. She died of, I think, throat cancer like 4 or 5 years ago. A quadlingual operatic singer whose vocals are enough to make this an incredibly unique and interesting song by themselves, but it's also just this, like, really fascinating techno song that uses, like, this skittering, really, like, fast-paced beat throughout the backdrop of the whole song, while over top of that is, like, these slow dramatic strings. As the song changes different sections, it has a really interesting sonic palette, just totally changing vibe in spite of the fact that it keeps this, you know, thriving techno beat and, you know, the vocals kind of holding it all together, making it feel cohesive. But, I mean, this is as cyberpunk as it fucking gets. Such a melding of genres. Again, the fact that there's 4 fucking languages in it, and the fully 3D visuals of the OP, which were kind of mind-blowing when I first saw this way back on Adult Swim back in the day, just being like, what the fuck is going on? The OP is entirely in 3D. It's not the best 3D. I would say that the shot where it zooms in on Motoko's face and, like, you can see her teeth and it looks like she has too many teeth has always weirded me out. Her hair is a little wonky. But overall, I like the way the 3D looks. I really love all the, like, visual effects they used on it, all the lighting effects and stuff. It's got a very dramatic tone. The actual, like, what's happening is cool. The Tachikoma, of course, looks beautiful still. Just the art design of it is a lot better than, like, the technological capabilities of the 3D, which has, you know, allowed it to age pretty well in spite of not being state-of-the-art anymore. This was from 2003. I'm sure some people will find it goofy and weird, but I did at the time. I just have come to love it, I've come to appreciate it through, you know, seeing it more and more. I also like the OP of the second season, but it's just nowhere near as interesting. The song is more straightforward. The visuals are not crazy 3D CG and are also not that interesting. So, you know, this is the one that made the list, even though I do think they're both good songs. This one is just so unique and fascinating and stuck with me. And of course, another soaring chorus that inevitably will get stuck in your head, even if you can't understand a lot of the lyrics because they are in Russian. At number 91, I've got the first Zeta Gundam OP, which is just a damn good time. This is one of those classic 80s dance pop themes that is just fun all the way through, sounds great. I mean, the real star of the show is that fucking synth burst that keeps playing the do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. I can't get enough of that thing. It plays all through the chorus and of course at parts of the beginning. Just hearing it over the backbeat at the very start of the song is enough to get me pumped. I love the female vocals. Everyone just sounds like they're having such a good time on this song. It's got that like horn swell in the bridge to the chorus that's fantastic. The video is just a bunch of gorgeous fucking character designs and space shit. Like, Zeta Gundam is just an incredibly aesthetically pleasing show. Camille and Char look awesome. Char in the, well, I guess Quattro Bagina in the fucking sunglasses. Just everything looks cool as hell and feels fun as shit. It's a lovely OP. Pure fun style. At number 90, I've got Naraku no Hana, the OP of the second season of Higurashi no Nakukoro ni. I'm not gonna lie, when I first heard this, I did not like it. I didn't like the long dramatic build-up. I didn't like the fact that the first half of the OP is mostly just one image of Rika and just floating, from right to left across the screen. And then the extremely dramatic chorus, which has one of the stupidest lyrics of all time. Anata wa naraku no hana janai, meaning, you are not a flower of hell. Stupid. However, I can't deny this song. For one thing, it just sounds great. Both the Higurashi OPs have just a phenomenal production sound. I love the way that the early part sounds with the sort of landscape sweeping, almost ambient, chilled out sound with her singing over it. And then the that comes every couple of bars. It makes me do this every time. It just sounds great. The chorus, I mean, you can't deny when the layered vocals cut in, it sounds phenomenal. It sounds really good. And then my favorite part, probably other than just how good that part sounds, is the very end when it cuts into the creepy, thick bassline sound that was more reminiscent of the first OP with those amazing sounding chanted vocals just saying some creepy shit over it. God, it's so slick, that sound. Yeah, this one is really about that fucking just clean ass production. And, once I got over the barrier of not liking overly dramatic stuff, I appreciated it for what it is. It's really good. And even though the first half of the OP visually is not really much to write home about, the second half has all kinds of incredible animation. You've got Rika-chan Naruto running on the water, and the shot of Reina just looking really despondent, and then crying, and the hair's all whipping in the wind. Just looks really good. Overall, solid OP that I came around on. At number 89, if there was any OP that I would have put on this list just for the visuals alone, it is the Great Teacher Onizuka OP. And not to knock the song, I might not be the biggest Lark NCL fan, but I think this is a really fun, sunny, upbeat rock song with some glistening synths that has a really memorable chorus, of course. The crash into the burning morning flash, I'm in the coolest driver's high. Fun shit, but the video is just incredible. It's the character animation off the charts, the ideas of the shots, the fact that it opens up with a hand pressing down on a toilet flusher with the sound of a motorcycle revving, which cuts to Onizuka himself exiting the bathroom in the most stylistic fashion possible, completely naked as the guitar wails over it. Unbelievably striking image, tells you so much about the show and the character right away. I mean, it's kind of like the perfect embodiment of just the whole attitude of Onizuka, and of course painting him in the most positive light possible, if you will. A goofy comedy character who is who is prone to a sort of toilet humor, but who nonetheless is the coolest guy around. And just all the shots in this look amazing. Just the aesthetics are off the chain. I don't even know, the vision it would take to imagine such cool imagery is beyond my abilities to understand. I love that it's all in this harsh black and white contrasting style where, the text that floats over it is all in primary colors. It's a really interesting contrast. I love the weird little digital word art moments that come up occasionally. The spray paint mural that Onizuka makes, and then of course the legendary final shot where he paints a target on his belly, then crouches into a stance and fires a gun into the camera. It just looks fucking awesome. I don't know if this was I don't know if there's anything it was made in reference to, if there was any imagery that was used as a grounds for it. I don't know even if the animation is rotoscoped. I don't think it is, because it doesn't quite look lifelike. It's just unbelievably well animated. I would say one of the most legendary OPs visually, and the song is no slouch either, so that's why it's on my list. For number 88, I've got Through the Night, the Outlaw Star OP. This one takes me way back. I mean, this is probably one of the earliest OPs that I can remember from this list. Back to the original run of Adult Swim when Outlaw Star would play deep into the night, and I rarely was up late enough to see it, but I would occasionally catch the OP, and I was always just enthralled by the "Ai dake, you may dake, kimi dake, so the dake no gonna do." Like, it's impossible not to move some kind of body part every time you hear a dake or a naide, make naide. It's just so much fucking fun. And those horns that it kicks off with, it gets you right in the mood instantly. As soon as the song comes on, you're already hyped. I would say that I don't enjoy the verse as much as the chorus. The like blaring, almost like siren-esque pianos that go in the background. The bling, 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 bling is a little annoying. The guy's voice is fine, I guess. Nothing to write home about. It's mostly the melody of the chorus, the impact of him saying the repeated phrases, and just how kick-ass those horns are. The very end of the chorus where it, transitions into the all through the night. Badass stuff. Video-wise, I mean, it's another Sunrise OP. If there's one thing you can count on them for, it's that their OPs are going to have beautiful character art and some really killer animation. I'm not necessarily the hugest Outlaw Star fan, and definitely the artwork is not as consistent in the show as it is in the OP. Not that it ever is in any show. But, this gives me a good hit of it, a good taste of the aesthetic and style of Outlaw Star, and makes me think, yeah, that was a cool 90s show. At number 87, I've got the lovely Haibane Renmei OP, which is a piece of orchestral soundtrack music by the composer of the show, Ko Otani. And it may surprise some of you to know that I would put something like this in my list, since I'm not the biggest fan of symphonic music in general. And I will even say that it's possible that I only like this OP so much because there is a prominent acoustic guitar kind of driving it, which gives it more of a folksy edge. And I do love folk music, especially in anime. But Haibane Renmei has one of my favorite soundtracks. I just think all around it's a gripping, emotional, again, a blend of like folksy sound and orchestral sound. And this OP just has such a great big swell in the middle of it. It's powerful, it's emotive, and the visuals, I mean, it's basically just a bunch of shots of Haibane Renmei, which is a gorgeous looking show aesthetically. It might not have the best production values of all time, but it's pretty much entirely the brainchild of Yoshitoshi Abe, one of my favorite artists, one who I was very obsessed with, particularly in the late 2000s. I've got a bunch of his art books and shit. He wrote the entire show. He, did the design work. It looks like his art as a show. And, just the setting of the show is so fucking memorable. It's one of the most unique and noteworthy settings in anime history. The characters look great. I love the, handheld shot at the end, where they tried to make it look like it was, on a home video camera. Just overall, a pleasant OP with a huge sounding song, super memorable melody, by the way. I'm also more likely to enjoy orchestral music where I can sing along to the melody of the song. I guess this really is more of a folk song. The more I think about what instrument sounds are in there, it just has, more violins, I guess, than usual. I don't know. Help me out on that one. At number 86, I've got Weapon, I Have It All, the Black Lagoon OP by Mel, which is this ultra thick and creamy dance song, very dark and pummeling while being, kind of like a sexy club song at the same time. This song is moe in a way, because in spite of being this dark, grim, edgy, serious song, the lyrics are fucking hilarious, because Mel decided, she wrote the song for the anime, and because the character Revi is American and speaks English, she decided to write the lyrics in English. And she clearly has no grasp of the language at all, but the lyrics that she comes up with are legendary. I'm not making fun of them. I sincerely love the lyrics, but they include such gems as, I have a gun, I took it from my lord, sick with justice, I just want to feel you. I am your angel, fire the missile there. Now let me violate them, no matter who they are. For Christ's sakes, this hurting world, shit out of luck, go with my vision. Weapon, I have it all. Like, these are the fucking lyrics, and I just love them. I love to sing along to these lyrics, and I got to see Mel actually perform this live at Otakon one year. It was a great performance. Everybody in the band looked like they were having a good ass time, and yeah, I mean, it's just a fucking dope song that totally matches the tone. I mean, even the fact that the lyrics are so ridiculous, Matt does a better job of matching the tone of Black Lagoon than if they had been actually serious. And the video is pretty cool. It's very stark. It's got lots of just shots of Revy looking like a badass. The shot with her with the word "you" written on her face, sticking her tongue out, is probably the most memorable. Yeah, this one is just a good fun time. For number 85, I have the fourth Eureka 7 OP. Now, all of the Eureka 7 OPs are fantastic. Numbers 2 and 3 will be further up on this list. But this one is the most daft. This is such a bizarre idea, which is essentially a J-pop electronic remix of Amazing Grace. Like, the main sample in the song is like a soaring operatic rendition of Amazing Grace, but like mixed into a song whose chorus goes like, cherry blossom, don't come out of more, think to not to do, not gonna any, sayonara for love. What the fuck am I listening to? But it's delightful. I mean, it totally works. It totally fits Eureka 7 to a T. The fact that it's just so like over the top matches with that section of the show, the last section of the show where everything's just crazy for like 10 episodes. And it's like the ultimate just bloomer, life is good core type of song. It's transcendent. And the fact that the chorus is so goddamn sticky. Like, I find myself walking around just going, cherry blossom, like all the time, even though I don't know the words other than cherry blossom and sayonara fall in love. But yeah, it's a fucking jaunty little tune. The video is just a bunch of Eureka 7 stuff. It's not particularly noteworthy, especially compared to some of the other ones. But you know, I love Eureka 7, so it's no problem there. At number 84, I have the Cardcaptor Sakura OP, Catch You, Catch Me, which is just so goddamn delightful. This is one of those songs that you could really be forgiven for not realizing how much is actually going on in it, because it's so subtle with its sounds. Like, you have this kind of creamy bass line going through the whole thing, but it's very muted. It's like, you know, there's like no attack on it. It's just kind of playing along with this kind of complex, you know, like tune. And then you've got all these like kind of guitars and shit going on. Lots of like synth pianos and keys that are playing sort of jazzy chord progressions. All kinds of noises going on, like these violin sounds and stuff in the chorus. Just a really unique combination of sounds to make something that just feels so poppy and light. But it's why every part of the song is memorable. The whole way through, you will know all of the words, you will know all of the parts, because they are all just so detailed and pristinely put together. And of course, the vocals are, you know, very soft and flowery, and the lyrics are pretty memorable. Chorus, extremely memorable. And there's even like these cute little sound effects. Like, there's one part where you hear like this whew, like in the chorus. Just a lot of fun. And I remember this best because of the fact that one of my first exposures to it was this parody where somebody had made Kyon from Haruhi sing the song, but like in like a really goofy, you know, deep toned voice. And I watched that video over and over again, and that was what first like introduced me to the OP. and then of course later watched the show. And I mean, there's other good OPs in Cardcaptor Sakura as well. They just don't stick with me the way this one does, just because it's sort of legendary and I've seen it so many times. The video, of course, is gorgeous. Madhouse with their incredible character animation. This is a great looking show in general. The colors of this show are so good. Like that very light pastel look. Just looking at the logo, it looks amazing in this OP. Aesthetic is just all the fuck on point. And even just that opening image of the lone Sakura petal falling into the pool and then her landing on top of it. Iconic imagery. And again, the second OP also has really great imagery and a really great song, but this one just sticks with me so much more. And just listening to it, really concentrating on all the sounds, I'm just impressed with, again, how complex the song actually is while maintaining such a light and fluffy atmosphere. Great stuff. At number 83, I have Crawl, the Nabari no O OP by Velt Punch. And honestly, after having listened to my OPs list over and over again, I think this could have been even higher up. And I'll admit, I was ashamed to like this song back when the show came out. Nabari no O is very much like a pretty boy-driven action, ninja show. It's fine. I think I watched 4 or 5 episodes and dropped it. Nothing particularly wrong with it, just not really my style. And the OP is very much like an emo rock, kind of mathy song. I think they are more of a math rock band than this OP would necessarily lead you to imagine. I would like to listen to more of their music, honestly, because my fiance May is a fan, and she sort of reintroduced me to the OP when we were listening to random OPs recently, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember that song. I remember listening to it a bunch of times, but I had been so bothered by the fact that I thought of it as one of those, hardcore songs where it's got that clicky snare sound, or they hit the side of the snare, that clack, 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 and that was such a cliche in music at the time that it drove me insane. And I think that was the biggest prejudice I had against it. Divorced from that time and place, I love the song now. And the more I listen to it, the more I like it. It's such an earworm, and it's just so technically well made. It's not that they're necessarily doing any really crazy technical playing, but just the structure of the song is really solid. The riffs are good. The transitions are good. All of the vocals are fantastic because they use this male-female vocal harmonies that sound really fucking good. Both of their voices just meld together well. You kind of couldn't imagine it without both of them singing together. When you get to the chorus, you have this great soaring guitar melody that's kind of in the background. You wouldn't notice it at first, but once you latch onto it, it's really great. But more than anything, what grabs your attention is probably the pre-chorus. Shout aloud, I sing for you. Shout aloud, not for myself. I can't even sing it right because the harmony is so solid that it doesn't sound right with one person. I'm trying to think, wait a minute, is it actually that low? Because it sounds higher. Oh, right, the girl's singing a totally different melody. They coalesce so perfectly. And then you get to the chorus, which of course has the I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. Excellent emo rock lyrics. What can I say? This one really has snuck its way into my noggin, and it could have snuck its way even higher on the list, I think, if I'd spent a little bit more time with it and really given it its dues, because it's a hell of an earworm, if I may say so. At number 82, I've got the S-Cry Ed, or Sukuraido OP, Reckless Fire. This was one of my favorites back in the day. I remember from the early 2000s when my cousin bought the DVDs of this show, and I was pretty into it, and this is just one of the most memorable songs. It's so, ridiculously over-the-top, loud, and intense. It's basically a dance song with a heavy salsa influence. There's all these Spanish style guitars playing, and like salsa sounding orchestral parts over this J-pop dance beat. and some weird group vocals. It's a very strange song. It doesn't really sound like anything else except, I guess, other stuff by this artist who also did, more recently, the Rakudai Kishi no Cavalry OP. But just the fucking chorus, the reckless fire, ultra memorable, stuck in my mind. I'm not gonna lie, this one has not aged as well as I might have first thought. I probably would have put this one a little farther back on my list as compared to the previous one. But, you know, it's just kind of a nostalgia bomb for me every time I hear it. The video is fine. It's another Sunrise OP, so once again, you got lots of really great character art, though I don't think the character designs of Escryed are its strongest suit. It's very 2003 in maybe not the best way, but, you know, I still dig it. I still remember a lot of the imagery, the iconography of it, blazoned into my mind as somebody who's, you know, been watching this since, like, I don't know, 16 years ago. So, yeah, had to give its dues. At number 81, I've got the legendary Paranoia Agent OP by Susumu Hirasawa. This one is absolutely insane. I mean, Susumu Hirasawa began as the frontman of P-Model, became this very just out there electronic, I guess like new age producer. His music is grandiose and swelling. It's used in basically all of Satoshi Kon's work. You know, he was like his go-to guy, so to speak. And this OP is completely bonkers and insane. I mean, first of all, it's dizzying because you've got this beat that's on threes. It's like through the whole song, and over that is just all these dizzying, distant, heavily reverbed, like synthetic orchestral bits, and these like I want to say synth vocals, like where they probably plugged vocal sounds into a synthesizer and played that. And over all of that, again heavily soaked in reverb, is Susumu Hirasawa just going ape shit with the what. It sounds fucking crazy, and the imagery is pure apocalyptic chaos. It's all the characters from the show just laughing into the camera as the world is utterly destroyed around them. It is probably the best portrait of what society felt like at the time imaginable. I mean, still kind of what it feels like, but particularly very like 2004, 5. It's intense. It's frightening on some level. It's extremely memorable. It's been talked about many times, analyzed. I think the message of it is pretty clear, honestly. But yeah, just give it a fucking watch. It is absolutely one of the greats. I love the song and I love the video. The only reason it's not farther up on this list is just that there's so much good shit on this list. Last one of this video, number 80, Kaze no Nemuru Shima from Neoranga. Another one of the most unique, bizarre OPs that I know of, with a really just interesting production sound on the song itself. It's very lo-fi, I think, deliberately, and it's driven mostly by this extremely prominent and light bass line. Maybe I shouldn't call it light, but bright. It's just played, you know, on the lower end of the strings, if you will. Matching that, all these interesting synth orchestral sounds that just play really bombastically at the start and end of the song in a way that sounds like something out of like a monster movie or something, which is fitting since it is a show about a kaiju, but is totally different from the tone of the rest of the song. The very softly sung but reverb-soaked vocals are mysterious and really just interesting. There's like a mix of like a cuteness with a kind of sensuality and, again, sense of mystery. It's a totally unique sound, and the chorus is very memorable. I love the like chanting vocals that are put in the background as well, like the sample of some kind of chant, and the imagery also haunting and mysterious. All this this use of like these red ribbons and paint on the girls' bodies, all this like weird mystical tribal imagery, which of course it comes from the mythology of the show itself. And the iconic imagery of the girls all clad in these white flowing garbs that and all the paint on their bodies, which never shows up in the show. Huge cock tease. But the one shot of the blue-haired girl like suddenly coming up into frame with her arm up behind her back, one of the sexiest short pieces of animation I've ever seen. But my favorite imagery is probably all three of the girls like tied to crosses in this really distant grainy shot that like you just see little glimpses of in between other shots before the giant foot of the fucking kaiju just stomps onto them. That's a really intense and like grim image. You've got these shots of the girls like over top, like laid over top of this I guess live action footage of just like water, like still water. All kinds of interesting, inventive imagery that will definitely ingrain itself into your skull, as well as like the weird CG like logos that are floating around. It's just got all kinds of strange aesthetics and combinations, both sonically and visually, that somehow work. And I guess that describes Neo-Ranga itself. It is a total fucking clusterfuck of random styles and ideas and tones that shift all over the place. But it all works up until the last stretch of episodes, which really suck, unfortunately. But still a show worth watching, and definitely an OP worth watching, if nothing else. And that's it for part 1 of me talking about all my favorite OPs. Yeah, that's right. This is going to be a long endeavor. This is why I had to break it into parts. So, show up for that tomorrow. I'll see you then.